It can be scary when you turn your tank light on one morning and notice that your betta fish is bloated. The worst may start to run through your head, that is dropsy, and now the chances of your betta surviving are very slim. However, there are many different causes of betta fish bloat, and the majority of them are treatable, so keep watching to find out more. What are the symptoms of betta fish bloat? When your betta fish is bloated, you'll notice that his belly begins to protrude out. While this in itself can be hard to diagnose, in most cases, when there's something wrong, there'll be other symptoms too. So here are the common causes of betta fish bloat, their symptoms, and how to treat them. The most common cause of bloat in bettas is constipation, followed by swim bladder disease, and unfortunately after that, dropsy. If your betta has the first two, then he can often make a speedy recovery, but if he's suffering from dropsy, then the chances of survival are a lot slimmer. Constipation. If your betta is suffering from constipation, treatment and prevention are incredibly easy. Luckily, this is one of the most common causes of bloat in bettas, so the chances are your betta will be suffering from this. As well as noticing a bloated belly, you may also notice the following. A lack of appetite. Bettas are extremely gutty fish, so you'll notice when he's not eating in no time. It's rare that bettas ever feel full, but one time they do is when they're constipated. If you notice your betta isn't eating anymore, then this is the first indicator of constipation. He can't pass stool. This can be hard to spot, but if you can keep an eye on your betta, you may notice that he's not able to defecate. This is one of the best indicators of constipation in bettas, and if you notice this in combination with a lack of appetite, then you should begin treating your betta for constipation. What are the causes of constipation? There's more than one thing that can cause constipation in bettas, so you should find out how to prevent it instead of learning how to treat it. Here are the most common causes of constipation. A poor diet. If you're feeding your betta too much, or if the food you're feeding them isn't high quality, then it can often result in constipation, which leads to bloating. When feeding your betta, you should be using a mix of high quality pellets, as well as live food too. If you can't get your hands on live food, then freeze-dried and frozen also work. A lack of exercise. This cause is often overlooked, but if you're keeping your betta in a small tank, anything below 5 gallons, then he may not be getting enough exercise. If this is the case, then it can often lead to constipation, as well as frustration, boredom, and even depression. How do you treat constipation? Treatment of constipation is incredibly simple and require little work on your part. Normally, fasting your betta for 2 to 3 days is enough to get their bowels moving again. However, on top of this, after 2 to 3 days, you should begin feeding your betta small animals such as Daphnia, mosquito larvae, and brine shrimp. This will help him get more fibre into his digestive system, which in turn will relieve his constipation. If this treatment doesn't work, you can also give him Epsom salt baths and feed him peas. Swim bladder disease. If it doesn't seem like constipation, then it could be caused by swim bladder disease. However, swim bladder disease can be caused by constipation, and constipation can also be caused by swim bladder disease. Confusing, I know. This is because swim bladder disease isn't actually a disease. It's a name given to a multitude of things that can cause similar symptoms in bettas and other fish. What are the symptoms of swim bladder disease? There are many different symptoms which are associated with swim bladder disease. However, luckily they're incredibly easy to spot, and once you've seen them, you can begin helping your betta recover. Trouble swimming. If you notice any sign of your betta struggling to swim alongside a bloated belly, then swim bladder disease could be to blame. This can include buoyancy issues, sinking to the bottom, staying stuck at the top, lopsided swimming, and being unable to stay in one position. Trouble swimming is one of the most classic signs of swim bladder disease. It's distressing to watch, but luckily in a lot of cases it's also curable. A lack of appetite. Just like with constipation, when your betta is suffering from swim bladder disease, it could cause reduced appetite. This could be because they are extremely damaged or caused by other factors as well. A curved back. In more extreme circumstances, your betta could also begin to get a curved back. A curved back can often look horrifying, and if you see it, you'll need to act quickly to get your betta back on the mend, as it's going to be as uncomfortable as it looks. Lethargy. Lastly, if your betta doesn't try to move around anymore and just stays in one place, then it's another sign of swim bladder disease. This could be because they're too full up, or it could also happen when they're in pain. What are the causes of swim bladder disease? One of the biggest problems with swim bladder disease is that there are so many different reasons it can occur. Before you can treat it, you'll need to know all the causes and diagnose it correctly. Otherwise, you could just be wasting time. Here are some of the most common causes. Constipation. While bloating can be caused by swim bladder disease can also be caused by constipation. If you notice your betta fish is bloated and struggling to swim, then constipation could be the cause. Injury. Another common cause of swim bladder disease in bettas is an injury. This can be caused by other tank mates which are being aggressive, or by your betta damaging himself on something in the tank. Swim bladder disease often happens if your betta has managed to jump out of the tank and damaged himself when landing. Parasites and bacterial infections. Although it's rare, sometimes parasites and bacterial infections can cause swim bladder disease in bettas. Along with these symptoms, you may also notice your betta's stool is a different colour, often appearing stringy and white rather than brown. Shock. There are various things that can cause shock in your betta, including temperature changes, pH changes, and constant changes in lighting. If you think your betta is in shock, fixing the underlying issue will normally fix the swim bladder disease as well. How do you treat swim bladder disease? There are many different ways you can treat swim bladder disease, and in some cases, no care from you is required. The most common ways to treat it are by fasting your betta if he's been overeating, using Epsom salt if he's constipated, and leaving him if he's shocked. Dropsy. If it doesn't seem like constipation or swim bladder disease, then unfortunately it could be dropsy. If it is dropsy, the chances of your betta surviving are incredibly slim. While some fish have made a recovery from dropsy, in most cases, euthanasia is the most likely option you'll need to consider. What are the symptoms of dropsy? If your betta fish is bloated and you think it's dropsy, then there are also some other symptoms you can look for. While some of them can be caused by other ailments, one of them is unique to dropsy. Pinecone scales. If you notice that your betta's scales are sticking out the wrong way, making him look like a pine cone, then it's dropsy that he's suffering from. Unfortunately, at this stage, the chances of survival are incredibly slim. The pinecone effect is caused when the organs are so damaged that they begin to swell, forcing your betta's body to bloat and pushing his scales out. Even if you fix the original problem, the organs are normally too damaged for survival. A curved spine. You may also notice that your betta's spine is curving outwards as the swelling causes more damage. However, make sure that the spine is curving sideways and not vertically, as this is a sign of tuberculosis. What are the causes of dropsy? It can be hard to pinpoint the exact causes of dropsy, as there are a wide variety of causes. However, most of the time it's some sort of stress that your betta is going through that causes it to occur. The most common reasons your betta will be stressed are the following: poor water quality or diet. If you're keeping your betta in a tank with poor water quality, or you're not feeding him properly, then he's more likely to get dropsy, as well as a whole range of other illnesses. Poor water and food will put constant stress on your betta, weakening him and damaging his immune system until he can't fight any illness off. Internal damage. Bringing your betta home for the first time, moving him around, fighting or dangerous objects in your tank can all cause internal damage to your betta, which you may not see on the outside. If the damage is too severe, then his organs and tissue will begin to swell to try and heal him. Unfortunately, this doesn't work and your betta is left with dropsy. Illness and disease. If your betta is already suffering from an illness, it's even more likely that it will develop dropsy. This is one of the reasons it's vital you treat any illness early to stop them from progressing to something untreatable. How do you treat dropsy? If you think you can bring your betta back from the brink, then the most common treatment are frequent water changes, as well as administering an antibiotic if you think its root cause is a bacterial infection. You can also try methylene blue dips, however, chances of success with either are slim. Malawi Bloat. It's incredibly rare that your betta is suffering from Malawi Bloat. In fact, it's probably the least likely sickness that your betta is suffering from. However, on occasion, it is known to happen, and unfortunately, once you notice the signs of it, it's normally too late to save your betta. What are the symptoms of Malawi Bloat? Aside from the obvious bloating symptoms, there are other symptoms that you may notice when your betta is suffering. Trouble breathing. You may notice that your betta is struggling to breathe and spending lots of time at the top of the tank to get the air easier. However, if you notice this, then it may not be Malawi Bloat, but it could be being caused by something equally serious, such as not enough oxygen in the water, ammonia poisoning, or temperature shock. A lack of appetite. Again, a lack of appetite is another symptom that can be related to many illnesses, but in rare circumstances, it could also be due to Malawi Bloat. The general consensus is that Malawi Bloat is either caused by a parasite or bacteria in your tank's water. However, no one's sure which one it is. The best way to reduce the chances of Malawi Bloat is making sure you keep the water conditions in your tank great, as well as feeding your betta food from reputable sources. How to treat Malawi Bloat. If you think your betta is suffering from it, then in the vast majority of cases it's going to be fatal. However, if you do want to treat it, then you need to take your betta to a vet or specialist. A tumour. In other rare circumstances, a bloated belly in your betta fish can be caused by a tumour. While it is rare that your betta will have a tumour that's caused a bloated stomach, when it does happen, unfortunately, there's nothing left you can do, and the only option is euthanasia. Fortunately, tumours aren't common in bettas, so you shouldn't worry too much about this. And if you're worried that you've done something to cause a tumour, don't worry. There's nothing you can do to stop a tumour. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. Producing eggs. If bloating is occurring in one of your female bettas, then she may be producing eggs. Fortunately, there are other signs apart from swelling that will let you know your girl is full of eggs. The signs you can expect to see on top of bloating include white vertical stripes running across her body, as well as a white spot or tube on her stomach where the eggs are going to come from. What to do if you notice your betta fish is bloated. When you notice your betta fish is bloated, you should act quickly to sort the problem out and keep him healthy. Here are the steps you should take. Diagnose the symptoms. The first step is to try and diagnose exactly what's wrong with your betta. If you think it's constipation, then he can be kept in his main tank. Move him to a quarantine tank. If it's not constipation, or you're not sure and your betta is living in a community tank, then you should move him to a quarantine tank. This will stop him from potentially making other fish ill, and it will also make treating him easier. If he's suffering from swim bladder disease due to injury, it will also make it easier for him to rest. Begin treatment. Once you've got your betta into a quarantine tank, you can begin whatever treatment you think is going to help. Just remember, you should keep your betta in a quarantine tank even after he looks better, just to make sure that he's fully recovered. Monitor the symptoms. If possible, you should check your betta every few hours to monitor his symptoms and make sure things aren't getting worse. How to prevent bloat in your betta fish. It's always better to prevent a betta fish being bloated rather than treating it. Luckily, the key to preventing bloat and many diseases are pretty similar and pretty simple. Keep the water clean. Keeping the water clean is one of the best things you can do to reduce illness in your betta. Performing water changes every week or couple of weeks, depending on the size of your tank, is going to remove any buildup of ammonia and waste in the tank. It's also going to remove a lot of bacteria and parasites from the tank that could do your betta harm. Use high quality food. You should also make sure that you're using high quality food and make sure your betta is getting a balanced diet. While you can feed him nutritional betta pellets, they shouldn't be his only source of food. Freeze-dried, dried, frozen and live food should all be used. Daphnia is best for bettas, however you can also use mosquito larvae and brine shrimp. You may have heard that bloodworms should be a staple in a betta's diet, however they should only be used as a treat. Avoid aggressive tank mates and sharp objects. Aggressive tank mates and sharp objects in your tank can often cause damage to your betta. Even if the damage isn't directed, the stress of the tank can often cause the under stress, resulting in different outcomes. Luckily, there are plenty of techniques that decorate using adequately sized tank. You may have heard of 2.5 gallons is big enough for bettas. However, if you want your betta to be at 5 gallons of water, so in conclusion, a bloated betta is fairly common in most cases. Here are the main points to remember from the start. There are lots of causes of bloat, and some of them are deadly in most cases. Constipation is one of the leading causes of bloat, as well as bloating and betta can be to treat constipation, fast your betta and feed them definitely after a couple of days. Swim bladder disease can also cause damage, constipation and water fluctuation. The symptoms of swim bladder disease also include lack of appetite, crowd back, and inflammation. There are different treatments for swim bladder disease depending on what's causing it. Bloating in bettas can also be a sign of dropsy, which is often fatal. Main symptoms include bloating and dropsy, mind weight gain, all water quality disease, poor diet, and treatment of dropsy is extremely difficult as well as pharmacists in rare cases, bloated bettas can be treated with in both cases, it will not be if your female is suffering from bloating, to prevent bloating in your betta, keep the water quality good, feed them a varied diet, avoid aggressive techniques, sharp objects, and use an adequately sized tank. If you like this video, then make sure you check out the rest of my channel. And if you're interested in more fish for your tank, you can definitely check out the Ultimate Betta Tank Maker, which is an eBay